Hello, dear viewers. Today we are diving into a topic that will leave you speechless. We are going to explore the Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia, which history books ignore, but is actually one of the most interesting states of the Middle Ages. Imagine such a kingdom that was in the middle of both the East and the West, sandwiched between the Crusaders and the Muslims, and yet it survived for centuries. How did they do it? That is exactly what I'm going to tell you. You will learn so many things in this video that you will tell your friends and they will say, "No way!" For example, did you know that the currency of this kingdom was valid all over the Mediterranean? Or that their capital was like New York at the time? But here's the real bombshell. The legacy of this kingdom lives on even today, and you don't even realize it. How? Keep watching the video, and let's discover the secrets of this forgotten kingdom together. If you are ready, we are going on a time travel. Welcome to the magical world of the Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia. And remember, if you watch this video to the end, your perspective on history will change forever. Let's get started. Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia. The Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia was an Armenian state founded in the Middle Ages by Armenian refugees fleeing the Seljuk invasion of Armenia. It was centered in the region of Cilicia, northwest of the Gulf of Iskenderun, outside the Armenian highlands, and distinct from the ancient Kingdom of Armenia. The kingdom was founded in 1080 and existed until 1375, when it was conquered by the Mamluk Sultanate. Origins of the kingdom c. 1080. Cilicia was a strong ally of the European Crusaders and saw itself as the stronghold of Christianity in the East. The kingdom was a vassal state of the Byzantine Empire in its early years and later of the Kingdom of Jerusalem. It became a fully independent kingdom in the 12th century. The kingdom's military and diplomatic power enabled it to maintain its independence from Byzantium, the Crusaders, and the Seljuks, and it played a key role in the region as a mediator between these powers. The kingdom was known for its skilled cavalry and its successful trade network, which extended to the Black Sea and Crimea. It was also home to a number of important cultural and religious centers, including the Armenian Catholic City of Sis, the seat of the Armenian Church. The Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia was conquered by the Mamluks in the 14th century, and its territory fell to the Ottoman Empire in the 15th century, but its legacy lives on in the Armenian diaspora, which has strong ties to its ancestral homeland and plays an important role in the cultural and intellectual life of the region. The Armenian presence in Cilicia dates back to the 1st century BC, when the Kingdom of Armenia expanded and conquered a vast territory in the Levant under Tigranes the Great. In 83 BC, the Greek aristocracy of Seleucid Syria, weakened by a bloody civil war, offered their allegiance to the ambitious Armenian king. Tigranes then conquered Phoenicia and Cilicia, effectively ending the Seleucid Empire. Tigranes occupied the southeast as far as the Parthian capital of Ecbatana in present-day western Iran. In 27 BC, the Roman Empire conquered Cilicia, making it one of its eastern provinces. After the division of the Roman Empire in 395 AD, Cilicia became part of the Eastern Roman Empire, also called the Byzantine Empire. In the 6th century AD, Armenian families moved to Byzantine lands, many of them serving as soldiers or generals in the Byzantine army and rising to important imperial positions. Cilicia suffered Arab invasions in the 7th century and was fully incorporated into the Rashidun Caliphate. But the Caliphate was unable to establish a permanent foothold in Anatolia due to the reconquest of Cilicia by the Byzantine Emperor Nicephorus Phocas II in 965. The Caliphate's occupation of Cilicia and other parts of Asia Minor led many Armenians to seek refuge and protection further west in the Byzantine Empire, which created demographic imbalances in the region. In order to better protect their eastern territories after the reconquest, the Byzantines resorted to a policy of mass transfer and settlement of indigenous peoples within the empire's borders, Nicephorus thus expelled the Muslims living in Cilicia and encouraged Christians from Syria and Armenia to settle in the region. Emperor Basileus II, 976-1025. Emperor Basileus II, 976-1025, sought to expand into Armenian Vaspurakan in the east and into Arab-controlled Syria in the south. As a result of Byzantine military campaigns, Armenians spread into Cappadocia and eastward from Cilicia into the mountainous regions of northern Syria and Mesopotamia. The formal annexation of Greater Armenia to the Byzantine Empire in 1045 and its conquest by the Seljuk Turks 19 years later led to two new waves of Armenian migration to Cilicia. Armenians were unable to re-establish an independent state in their native mountainous region, as it remained under foreign occupation after the fall of Bagratid Armenia. 45. In the midst of Byzantine efforts to repopulate the eastern part of the empire after its conquest in 1064, Armenian migration to Cilicia intensified and turned into a major socio-political movement. Armenians came to serve the Byzantines as officers or governors, and they were given control of important cities on the eastern border of the Byzantine Empire. The Seljuks also played an important role in moving the Armenian population to Cilicia. 64. 7 years later, they won a decisive victory over Byzantium, defeating the army of Emperor Romanus Diogenes IV at Malazgirt, north of Lake Van Alp. Arslan's successor, Malik Shah I, further expanded the Seljuk Empire and imposed oppressive taxes on the Armenian inhabitants. After a plea by Parseg of Cilicia, a deputy and representative of Catholicos Gregory II the Martyr, the Armenians received a partial reprieve, but Malik's subsequent governors continued to collect taxes. After a plea by Parseg of Cilicia, the deputy and representative of Catholicos Gregory II the Martyr, the Armenians obtained a partial reprieve, but Malik's subsequent governors continued to collect taxes, leading Armenians to seek refuge in Byzantium and Cilicia, while some Armenian leaders presented themselves as sovereign lords. Others remained loyal to the empire, at least in name. The most successful of these early Armenian warlords was the former Byzantine general Philaretos Berkemios, who sided with Romanus Diogenes at Malazgirt. 78. Between 1085 and 1085, Philaretus established a principality stretching from Malatya in the north to Antioch in the south, from Cilicia in the west to Edessa in the east. He invited many Armenian nobles into his territory and granted them lands and castles. But even before his death in 1090, Philaretus' state began to crumble, eventually breaking up into local lordships. Lord of the Mountains. One of the princes who came at Philaretus' invitation was Reuben, who had close relations with the last Bagratian Armenian king, Gajik II. Reuben was with the Armenian ruler Gajik when he traveled to Constantinople at the request of the Byzantine emperor. However, instead of negotiating peace, the king was forced to leave Armenian lands and live in exile. Gajik was later killed by the Greeks. In 1080, shortly after this assassination, Reuben organized a group of Armenian troops and revolted against the Byzantine Empire. Many other Armenian lords and nobles joined him. Thus, in 1080, the foundations of the independent Armenian Principality of Cilicia and the future kingdom were laid under Reuben's leadership. He began to organize bold and successful military campaigns against the Byzantines, culminating in the capture of the castle of Parzapurt, which once became the stronghold of the Rupenian dynasty. Seljuks conquered the Armenian highlands. Malik Shah conquered most of northern Syria and the Armenian highlands, where he appointed new governors who imposed oppressive taxes on the Armenian inhabitants. Thus, the suffering of Armenians at the hands of the Seljuks became the impetus for many Armenians to seek refuge and sanctuary in Byzantine Anatolia and Cilicia during the second half of the 11th century. The Seljuk conquest of the Armenian highlands also had a major impact on the Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia, formed by Armenian refugees fleeing Seljuk invasions. The kingdom emerged as a major power in the region and played a key role in mediating between the Seljuks and other powers such as the Byzantine Empire and the Crusaders. Reign of Prince Constantine I of Armenia. In 1090, Reuben was in no condition to lead his troops, so his son Constantine took over his command and conquered the fortress of Vacha. The mastery of this mountain pass made it possible to assess taxes on goods transported from the port of Ias to the central part of Asia Minor, a source of wealth to which the Rupenians owed their power. As an Armenian Christian ruler in the Levant, he helped the forces of the First Crusade maintain the siege of Antioch until it fell to the Crusaders. The Crusaders duly appreciated the help of their Armenian allies. Constantine was honored with gifts, the title of Marquis, and knighthood. Crusade's First Crusade. The First Crusade took place during the reign of Constantine the Sechster. An army of Western European Christians marched through Anatolia and Cilicia on their way to Jerusalem. The Armenians of Cilicia found powerful allies among the Frankish Crusaders, whose leader Godfrey de Bouillon was seen as a savior for the Armenians. Constantine saw the arrival of the Crusaders as a one-time opportunity to consolidate his rule in Cilicia by eliminating the remaining Byzantine strongholds in the region. With the help of the Crusaders, he secured Cilicia from the Byzantines and Turks, both through direct military operations in Cilicia and by establishing Crusader states in Antioch, Edessa, and Tripoli. The Armenians also helped the Crusaders. The Crusaders honored Constantine with the titles of comes and barons to show their appreciation for their Armenian allies. The friendly relationship between Armenians and Crusaders was reinforced by frequent marriages. For example, Jocelyn I, Count of Edessa, married Constantine's daughter, and Godfrey's brother Baldwin married his niece, the daughter of Constantine's brother Toros. Armenians and Crusaders were part allies and part rivals for the next 2 centuries. Taurus takes the fortress of Cis Constantine's son was Taurus I, who succeeded him around 1100. During his reign, he confronted both the Byzantines and the Seljuks and expanded the Rubenid territory. Taurus ruled from the fortresses of Vacha and Parzapart, today Andurin in Turkey. Encouraged by Prince Tancred of Antioch, Taurus followed the course of the Pyramus River, today Seyhan River in Turkey, and captured the fortresses of Anazarbus and Sis, the ancient city. Taurus extensively rebuilt the fortifications at both fortresses with high perimeter walls and massive round towers. After eliminating the small Byzantine garrison stationed there, he transferred the Cilician capital from Tarsus to Sis. Blood vengeance Taurus, relentlessly pursuing the murderers of Gogic II, ambushed them in their fortress of Kizistra. At the opportune moment, his infantry surprised the garrison, occupied the fortress, looted it, and took bloody revenge by killing them all. 3 brothers, assassins of Gogic X, were taken prisoner and forced to bring Gogic's royal sword and the royal clothes taken at the time of the murder. One of the brothers was beaten to death by Taurus, who justified his brutal act by shouting that such monsters did not deserve to perish with the swift thrust of a dagger. Prince Levanir Taurus's brother and successor, Prince Levanirsh, began his reign in 1129. He integrated the coastal cities of Cilicia into the Armenian Principality and consolidated Armenian commercial leadership in the region. During this period, there was continued hostility between Cilician Armenia and the Seljuk Turks, and occasional conflicts between the Armenians and the Principality of Antioch over fortresses near the southern Amanus. Battle of Mamistra Byzantine, Emperor Manuel the Cernkomnenos sent troops to expand the empire. 1,000 troops under the command of Andronikos Komnenos went to Cilicia. Many Armenian nobles from western Cilicia left Thoris's control and joined Byzantine troops. Andronikos rejected Thoris's offer of a truce, swearing that he would destroy the Armenian kingdom and imprison Thoros. as the Byzantines had done to Thoros's father, Levanthus. The Byzantines besieged the Armenians, and Thoros and his brothers, led by Stephen and Memle, launched a surprise attack from the besieged city on a rainy night and defeated the Byzantines. Nicetas Honiatus claims that the Armenian soldiers were braver and more skilled than the Byzantine army. The Byzantines had to ransom the captured soldiers and generals. Surprisingly, Thoros gave the reward to his soldiers. The war had a great impact on the independence of Armenian Cilicia, as it strengthened the position of Armenians in Cilicia and created realistic opportunities for the establishment of a new, formal, and de facto independent Armenian state in Cilicia. Byzantine veneration. In 1137, the Byzantines under Emperor John II, who still recognized Cilicia as a Byzantine province, conquered most of the towns and cities on the Cilician plains. They captured and imprisoned Levan in Constantinople, along with several other family members, including his sons Reuben and Toros. Levan died in prison 3 years later. Reuben was blinded and killed while in prison. But Levan's second son and successor, Toros II, escaped in 1141 and returned to Cilicia to lead the fight against the Byzantines. He was initially successful in repelling Byzantine invasions, but in 1158, he paid homage to Emperor Emmanuel the Sure in a short-lived treaty. Prince Levan II. The Principality of Cilicia was a de facto kingdom before the accession of Levan II. Levan II is considered the first king of Cilicia due to Byzantium's rejection of the previous de facto kings as true de jure kings rather than dukes. Prince Levan II, a grandson of Levan I and brother of Reuben III, ascended the throne in 1187. He fought the Seljuks of Iconium, Aleppo, and Damascus, and added new territories to Cilicia, doubling the Mediterranean coast. At that time, Saladin Ayyubi of Egypt defeated the Kingdom of Jerusalem, which led to the Third Crusade. Prince Levan II took advantage of the situation by improving relations with the Europeans. The importance of Cilician Armenia in the region is evidenced by the letters of Pope Clement III to Levan and Catholicos Gregory IV in 1189, requesting Armenian military and financial assistance to the Crusaders. Thanks to the support given to Levan by the Holy Roman Emperors, Frederick Barbarossa and his son Henry VI, the status of the principality was elevated to kingdom. Principality becomes a Kingdom Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia. On January 6, 1198, the day Armenians celebrated Christmas, Prince Levan II was crowned in a grand ceremony in the Cathedral of Tarsus, securing his crown and becoming King Levan V, the first king of Cilician Armenians. The Reubenids consolidated their power by controlling fortified strategic roads from the Taurus Mountains to the plain and along the borders, including baronial and royal fortresses. Sis, Anavarza, Vaca, Vener, Kovara, Sarvandikar, Kuklak, Tilhampton, Hajan, and Gaban, modern Gaban. Isabella, Queen of Armenia. In 1219, following the failure of Raymond Rupen's attempt to seize the throne, Zabel, daughter of Levan, was proclaimed the new ruler of Cilician Armenia and placed under the regency of Adam of Bagras. Bagras was assassinated, and the regency passed to Constantine the Mughal of the Hechimid dynasty, a very influential Armenian family. To fend off the Seljuk threat, Constantine sought an alliance with Bohemond IV of Antioch, and the marriage of Bohemond's son Philip to Queen Zabel sealed it. However, Philip was too Latin for the taste of Armenians, as he refused to follow the rules of the Armenian Church. In 1226, Philip was imprisoned in Sis for stealing the royal jewels of Armenia, and after several months of imprisonment was poisoned and killed. Zabel decided to adopt a monastic life in the city of Seleucia, but was later forced to marry Hedam, Constantine's son, in 1226. Hedam became co-ruler as King Hedam III. Hetumids. By the 11th century, the Hedamids had settled in western Cilicia, especially in the highlands of the Taurus Mountains. Two major dynastic strongholds were Lampron and Paparon Babaron, which dominated the strategic routes to the Cilician Gates and Tarsus. The apparent marriage union of the two main dynasties of Cilicia, the Rubenids and the Hetumids, ended a century of dynastic and territorial rivalry and brought the Hetumids to the forefront of political domination in Cilician Armenia. Sax, although the accession of Hetum I in 1915 marked the beginning of the unified dynastic kingdom of Cilician Armenia, the Armenians faced many challenges from abroad. Bohemond sought an alliance with the Seljuk Sultan Kaikubad I, who seized the territories west of Cilicia to avenge the death of his son. Hetum also minted coins with his figure on one side and the Sultan's name on the other. Armenian vassalage to the Mongols. During Zabel and Hetum's reign, the Mongols under Genghis Khan and his successor Ogedei Khan spread rapidly from Central Asia and reached the Middle East, conquering Mesopotamia and Syria on their way to Egypt. In June 1243, they achieved a decisive victory over the Seljuks at Koseda. 6. The Mongol conquest was disastrous for Greater Armenia, but not for Cilicia, as Hetum preemptively chose to cooperate with the Mongols. He sent his brother Simbat to the Mongol court in Karakorum to negotiate an alliance in 1247. 1250. He returned in 1253 with a treaty guaranteeing the integrity of Cilicia, as well as the promise of Mongol assistance for the recapture of Seljuk-captured fortresses. Despite his sometimes onerous military commitments to the Mongols, Hetum had the financial resources and political autonomy to build new and impressive fortifications, such as the fortress at Tamrut. In Karakorum, Hetum personally visited the new Mongol ruler Mungka Khan, who received him with great honor and promised that Armenian churches and monasteries in Mongol lands would be exempt from taxation. Mongol invasion of Syria and Mesopotamia. Military cooperation between Armenians and Mongols began in the 1258-1260, when Hetum III, Bohemond VI, and the Georgians joined forces with the Mongols under Hulagu in the Mongol invasion of Syria and Mesopotamia. 58. From there, Mongol forces and their Christian allies conquered Muslim Syria, which was dominated by the Ayyubid dynasty. With the help of the Antiochian Franks, they took the city of Aleppo, and on March 1, 1260, under the command of the Christian general Kitbuka, they also took Damascus. Mari disaster. The conflict began when the Mamluk Sultan Baybars, seeking to take advantage of the weakening Mongol rule, sent an army of 30,000 men to Cilicia and demanded that Hetum I, king of Armenia, renounce his allegiance to the Mongols, recognize him as ruler, and surrender to the Mongols. The Mamluks held the lands and fortresses that Hetum I had gained through his alliance with the Mongols, but at the time Hetum I was in Tabriz and had gone to the Mongol court of Elkhan in Iran to seek military support. In his absence, the Mamluks marched on Cilician Armenia, led by Al-Mansur Ali and the Mamluk commander Kalavun. Hetum I's two sons, Leo, the future king Leo X, and Thoros, led the defense with an army of 15,000 men, strongly fortifying the fortresses at the entrance to Cilician territory. The battle took place on August 24, 1266, at Mari near Darbzakon, where the outnumbered Armenians were unable to withstand the much larger Mamluk forces. Thoros was killed in battle, and Leo was captured and imprisoned. The Armeno-Mongolian son of police officer Sempad, Vasil Tatar, was also captured by the Mamluks and held in captivity, along with Leo, although they were reportedly treated well. Hetum ransomed Leo for a high price, giving the Mamluks control of several fortresses and a large sum of money. Following their victory, the Mamluks invaded Cilicia and sacked the three major cities of the Cilician plain, Mamistra, Adana, and Tarsus, and the port of Ayas. Another Mamluk group under Mansur took the sacked and burned capital of Sis. Thousands of Armenians were massacred and 40,000 captured. Cilicia earthquake. The Cilician earthquake occurred in 1268 northeast of the city of Adana. More than 60,000 people died in the Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia in southern Asia Minor. Second Mamluk invasion. In 1269, Hedam I abdicated in favor of his son, Levan Setu, who paid a large annual tribute to the Mamluks. Despite the tribute, the Mamluks continued to attack Cilicia every few years. In the year of the end of the Ottoman Empire, an army under the command of the Mamluk Sultan's emirs invaded the country without any justification and confronted the Armenians, who had no means of resistance. The city of Tarsus was taken, the royal palace and the church of Hagia Sophia were burned, the state treasury was looted, 15,000 civilians were killed, 10,000 were taken captive to Egypt, and almost the entire population of Is, Armenian, and Frankish perished. Truce with the Mamluks. After the defeat of the Mongols and Armenians under the command of Monka Timur by the Mamluks in the Second Battle of Homs, a truce was declared in Armenia. Also in 1285, after a strong offensive move by Kalavan, the Armenians were forced to sign a 10-year truce with harsh terms. The Armenians had to cede many fortresses to the Mamluks and were forbidden to rebuild defensive fortifications. Cilician Armenia was forced to trade with Egypt, thus circumventing the papal trade embargo. In addition, the Mamluks were to receive an annual tribute of 1 million dirhams from the Armenians. Despite the above, the Mamluks continued to raid Cilician Armenia on numerous occasions. Now, in 1293, he abdicated in favor of his brother Toros III and entered the monastery of Mamistra. Campaigns with the Mongols Battle of Wadi al-Khazandar Homs, Hems, Syria. In the summer of 1299, King Hedam II, grandson of Hedam Yapsik, again faced with the threat of Mamluk attack, asked for support from Ghazan, the Mongol Khan of Persia. In response, Ghazan marched on Syria and invited the Franks of Cyprus, the King of Cyprus, the Templars, the Hospitallers, and the Teutonic Knights to join his attack on the Mamluks. The Mongols captured the city of Aleppo, joined by King Hedam. Their forces included the Templars and Hospitallers from the Kingdom of Armenia, who joined the rest of the attack. The combined force defeated the Mamluks at the Battle of Wadi al-Khazandar on December 23, 1299. In their absence, the Mamluks regrouped and recaptured the region in May 1300, the last Mongol invasion of Syria. In 1303, the Mongols once again attempted to conquer Syria with larger numbers, about 80,000, together with the Armenians, but were defeated at Homs on March 30th, 1303, and during the decisive Battle of Shahab, south of Damascus, on April 21st, 1303. When Ghazan died on May 10th, 1304, all hopes of a reconquest of the Holy Land died together. The killing of Hedam and Leo. Both King Leo and Hedam met Bulargu, the Mongol representative in Cilicia, in his camp just outside Anazarba. Bulargu, who had recently converted to Islam, killed the entire Armenian party. Hedam's brother Oshin immediately marched on Bulargu in retaliation and defeated him, forcing him to leave Cilicia. Bulargu was executed by Oljetu for his crime at the request of the Armenians. Oshin was crowned as the new king of Cilician Armenia on his return to Tarsus. Assassination of Levan IV. The Het-Umids continued to rule in unstable Cilicia until the assassination of Levan IV by an angry mob in 1341. Levan IV allied himself with the Kingdom of Cyprus, then ruled by the Frankish Lusinian dynasty, but was unable to resist the attacks of the Mamluks. The fall of the Lusinian dynasty. There have always been close relations between the Armenians and the Lusinians, who had already settled on the eastern Mediterranean island of Cyprus in the 12th century. Had it not been for their presence in Cyprus, the Kingdom of Cilician Armenia might have necessarily settled on the island. Guy de Lusignan and his younger brother John were seen as pro-Latin and deeply committed to the supremacy of the Roman Catholic Church in the Levant. As kings, the Lusinians sought to impose Catholicism and European customs. The Armenian nobility largely accepted this, but the peasants opposed the changes, which eventually led to internal conflict. End of the kingdom. From 1343 to 1344, Cilicia was again occupied by the Mamluks, intent on territorial expansion, a period when the Armenian population and its feudal rulers refused to adapt to the new Lusinian leadership and its policy of Latinizing the Armenian Church. Armenians frequently appealed to their European co-religionists for help and support, and the kingdom was involved in planning new crusades. When Armenian appeals for help from Europe failed, the fall of Cis to the Mamluks in 1374 and the fortress of Gaban in 1375, where King Levan V, his daughter Marie, and her husband Shahan took refuge, brought an end to the kingdom. The last king, Levan V, was granted safe passage and died in exile in Paris in 1393 after vainly calling for another crusade. In 1948, Levan's title and privileges were transferred to his cousin and King James III of Cyprus, thus combining the title of King of Armenia with the titles of King of Cyprus and King of Jerusalem. Turkish tribes settled there, leading to the conquest of Cilicia under Timur. As a result, 30,000 wealthy Armenians left Cilicia and settled in Cyprus, which was ruled by the Lusinian dynasty until 1489. Many merchant families also fled westward and established or joined existing diaspora communities in France, Italy, the Netherlands, Poland, and Spain. Only the more modest Armenians remained in Cilicia, though they maintained a presence in the region throughout Turkish rule. Conclusion: surprising secrets of a forgotten kingdom. Revealed, the unknown aspects of the Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia will astonish you. This mysterious kingdom, which is not mentioned much in history books, was actually one of the most interesting states of the Middle Ages. Imagine a kingdom that was caught between Muslims and Christians during the Crusades, a kingdom with traces of both Eastern and Western culture. Here are some surprising facts about this forgotten kingdom. The Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia was much more powerful than you think. It was a bold and strategic state that could challenge the Byzantine Empire. The kingdom's currency was so valuable that it was used in all Mediterranean trade. Think of it like today's global currencies. The genealogy of the royal family will shock you. Some rulers married European princesses, making this small kingdom a great diplomatic power. Cis, now Kozan, the capital of Cilicia, was like the New York of its time. A center of cultures, religions, and trade, this city is a treasure waiting to be discovered. The real reason behind the fall of the kingdom will surprise you. Not only external forces, but also internal conflicts brought the end of this unique state. The legacy of the Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia is still alive today. The colors and symbols on the flag of modern Armenia have their roots in this kingdom. The manuscripts preserved in the kingdom's libraries could turn the scientific world upside down. Who knows? Maybe the key to lost ancient knowledge is hidden in the archives of this kingdom. The story of this extraordinary kingdom holds many secrets that history books do not tell us. These little-known aspects of the Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia will completely change the way you look at medieval history.